All right, what's going on, everybody? So today I'm going to be giving you 2 pressure points here within the Epstein case. I have researched the Epstein story extensively, like months of research, and there are 2 things that are happening right now that we can press on that we might actually get some answers from. Everybody hates what's going on right now, right? Everybody hates Donald Trump. We hate all of these elite billionaires who are all named in the Epstein story, by the way. Well, then let's put them down. And let's do it by telling our congressional members, our senators, and our representatives to go after these 2 things so that we can finally get some damn results. Here's the first thing we're going to press on. Ghislaine Maxwell. Ghislaine Maxwell, for some reason, has come out recently and has been saying that up to 29 people who reached secret Epstein settlements were not indicted. And we know this. We've seen this with some of the documents that were released in the past. These co-conspirators, these other people. Now she's claiming there's more, but we knew there was at least 10 people that have just been let off the hook for one reason or the other. We know Epstein had the non-prosecution agreement. It was extremely corrupt. And now it's looking like more and more and more people are having that same level of corrupt injustice be granted to them in their favor so that they can avoid prison time. Now, I realize Ghislaine Maxwell is not the most honest person, but saying these kinds of things only serves to disrupt the potential cover-up, something that isn't necessarily good for her. So why is she saying this right now at the same time that we're getting 3 million files? I don't really know. But this is true. We know for a fact that at least 10 of these co-conspirators were let off the hook for no reason. We don't know why. And now she is saying that there's even more. Is this Ghislaine Maxwell trying to twist the knife? Yes, potentially. But I think we should take this seriously. But this isn't even really the full point that I wanted to make about Ghislaine Maxwell here. Look at this. Right now, Ghislaine Maxwell is receiving some very unjust treatment. Just like the co-conspirators that she is mentioning, she is also being given some very unjust benefits during her prison sentence. She was actually convicted in 2021. She couldn't escape, but look what's going on in this prison. This prison is called Federal Prison Camp Bryan. It's located in Texas. But here's what they're doing for her. It is widely reported that Ghislaine Maxwell's meals are being customized and prepared by federal prison camp staff and then personally delivered to her in her cell by longtime federal employees. This is not normal, even at this minimum security prison where she shouldn't even be to begin with. This is not normal. It's also reported that Ghislaine Maxwell wants to arrange private meetings with visitors, including members of her family, and the warden personally arranged it for her. And then he was forced to provide a special cordoned off area for visitors to arrive, as well as an assortment of snacks and refreshments for her guests. Like, what is this, a housewarming party? You're in prison, bitch. You shouldn't be doing all of this for her. What is going on here? Not only that, but guests were permitted to bring computers, an unprecedented action by the warden, given the security risk and potential for Ghislaine Maxwell to use a computer to conduct unmonitored communications with the outside world. Think about that. This is somebody who is very well connected, likely involved in a blackmail harvesting operation. This is also somebody who was threatening victims on the regular, young girls who she victimized sexually with Jeffrey Epstein. Why would you give somebody like that another chance to negotiate deals or threaten more victims? It makes absolutely no sense. But that's not all. It's reported that when the phone lines went down for other inmates at the camp, Ghislaine Maxwell provided specific instructions about exactly which Bureau of Prison personnel her contacts should call, and how those Bureau of Prison personnel would then connect to relay the call to Miss Maxwell. So she is telling the prison staff what to do when the phone lines go down so that she can keep conducting her business even though none of the other prisoners can. But wait, there's even more. It's reported that when Ghislaine Maxwell wanted to review and edit documents quickly, she essentially used the warden hall as her personal secretary and administrative assistant. Ghislaine Maxwell's correspondents would email documents directly to the warden, who would provide them to Miss Maxwell, who would then review and edit them and provide them back to the warden to scan and provide to the original sender. For other inmates, simple mail can take weeks to arrive and is frequently lost. So think about this, like the correspondence aspect of Ghislaine Maxwell in prison. Why is it so important for this pedophile woman, this horrible piece of crap, to have all these benefits, but mainly, like, we're seeing this focus on correspondence? Who does she need to stay in touch with? Why is it so important that Ghislaine Maxwell have a direct line of communication, no matter what is going on, to the outside world? Who is she talking to? And you know what? Here's the first point, everybody. Tell your representatives to subpoena the fucking prison warden. Because apparently, Warden Hall here, everybody, is looking at what is being sent by Miss Maxwell and what is being sent to Miss Maxwell. So why is this so important? Let's find out. Subpoena this person's testimony immediately. So that's the first point. But real quick, before we move off of Ghislaine Maxwell onto the next subject, I also want you to look at this. It's also reported that an inmate who trains puppies to become service dogs was instructed to provide one to Maxwell for a time so she could play with the puppy. Even though neither inmates nor staff are ordinarily allowed to pet the service dogs in training. And when Miss Maxwell wanted to go to the prison exercise area, she was personally escorted there after hours by prison guards so she could work out by herself and was allowed to enjoy recreation time in staff-only areas. What the hell is going on? This prisoner, this 20-year sentence pedophile, is basically running this prison, and it's apparently very important for her to be able to communicate with the outside world. It makes no sense. Absolutely pressure your senators and your state representatives to start subpoenaing this information. Let's get this warden from Prison Camp Brian to stand before Congress and tell everybody what is being talked about in these emails and who is telling them to let Ghislaine Maxwell basically run this prison. Because I, for one, am very interested in that. This is probably one of the most corrupt goddamn things that's happening right now. This should not be happening with a woman who was convicted on at least 6 felony counts of abusing children sexually. It makes no sense. Okay, but we're going to move on to the second point now. Here's the second thing that you can talk to your representatives about. We're going to be specifically talking about those co-conspirators I just mentioned. Specifically, one individual right now that I'm going to talk about, but there's actually a lot more that we do know a lot about. Her name is Sarah Vickers. Now, why are we talking about Sarah Vickers? Well, as you can see, she comes up a lot in this story. And this was a co-conspirator who helped Jeffrey Epstein day in and day out for over a decade. So how many people do you think she saw come in and out of his properties, or his airplane, or his island, or whatever? She's probably one of those people in the Epstein story that knows more than just about anyone else aside from Epstein himself, who is dead, and Ghislaine Maxwell, who is currently obviously being shown extreme favoritism. Now, let me show you what she looks like. This is her here. And she's had a few different appearances or looks or styles over the year. So this is somebody obviously who might look different today, and I will show you a picture of them today, but they may look different in the future as well, right? A lot of different looks. Let me show you something real quick that I found today in the release of the 3 million files that we just got from Congress. I found this document. This is a court document where we have this lawsuit between one of Epstein's accusers or victims and the executors of Epstein's estate. So this is after Epstein has died, and this is one of the victims that is suing his estate for money. But as you can see here, they're also suing very specifically Sarah Vickers, which is her name. She used to be named Sarah Kellen, but she's now named Sarah Vickers, and I'll tell you why that is here in a second. But here's why this document is important. We see that Epstein was aided by Sarah Vickers, and we all know this. She's a co-conspirator. She was helping lure these women into Epstein so that he could abuse them. But why it's important is this part right here. Quote, would summon Mary to his Manhattan townhouse, order her to give him massages, and then subject her to sexual acts, the severity of which increased over time. But the important part here is this, guys. The Manhattan townhouse. This happened in New York. This woman was abused by Epstein in Epstein's New York residence with the help of Sarah Vickers, right? This woman helped Epstein abuse women in New York. Why is that so important? This is why it's so important. It's so important because nothing has happened to these co-conspirators yet because of that Florida non-prosecution agreement. However, what we're seeing here now is that circuit courts have been divided on whether a plea agreement made on behalf of the federal government in one district actually extends to other districts. Her attorneys are arguing for this, but that doesn't actually mean that that's what's happening. So what I'm saying, guys, is that it's very likely that this woman has no protection anymore. We know that she was helping Epstein abuse women in New York. That doesn't necessarily mean that she's protected by the federal non-prosecution agreement that was made in Florida. It just doesn't automatically apply universally throughout the United States. And so what that means is that there is a person out there who has seen all of this stuff go down, has helped Epstein do it. She is criminally liable. She knows a whole bunch of other names of other co-conspirators and other people who abused women, and probably people who were doing other kinds of illegal stuff, like maybe even arms trafficking, money laundering, or bank fraud. And she is completely open to litigation right now, and nobody is going after her. No state level or federal level entity is going after this woman, who should be getting investigated right fucking now, everybody. She should be getting investigated yesterday. That non-prosecution agreement does not 100% necessarily hold up. In fact, it sounds like they're very divided on this idea. And so you should call your representatives and your senators, and you should tell them, subpoena this person, get their testimony. Hell, if you live in Miami, get this. It's reported that as of August of last year, just 5 months ago, this lieutenant of Ghislaine Maxwell is living the high life in a $6.5 million Miami condo as her boss, Ghislaine Maxwell, is stuck behind bars. This woman who is criminally liable and is not protected by the non-prosecution agreement for her crimes in New York that I just read to you is currently living it up and living the high life in a $6.5 million Miami condo. Now, where did she get the money for that? Well, we know that she was one of the people getting paid by Epstein. We have receipts from the prior document dump from the government, but not this much. We know that these co-conspirators were paid somewhere around $300,000, but where did she get this? Where did she get this $6.5 million condo? And I should mention that yes, she is now married to a NASCAR driver, which may afford her some level of wealth and affluence, but that seems like a bit much to me, doesn't it to you? $6.5 million condo? How much is her car worth? How much is her jewelry worth? She's obviously living this fucking high life over here, trying to ride off into the sunset with all the money that she made from Jeffrey Epstein and all of his crimes and helping him abuse women. I mean, if we go back to this is disgusting. Read this. Look at this. Suddenly saw the truth. She was not even a human being to Epstein. She was an object, and Epstein was treating her as a prostitute, one of many girls he treated as sexual objects. Doe had a breakdown, almost immediately thereafter left New York, returned to her parents' home across the country, and never saw Epstein again. Epstein's abuse caused Doe to abandon her modeling career and left her humiliated, angry, and suicidal with debilitating panic attacks and dramatic psychological scars. Why is this person living the high life? She helped with this. She probably did this to hundreds of women. And now what I'm showing you is that she is still criminally liable. That prosecution agreement in 2007 only pertained to the crimes that were then presently being investigated. Epstein operated in his New York townhouse mostly after that. This woman and a handful of other people, and according to Ghislaine Maxwell, 29 other people, are completely criminally liable and they are not being investigated. Why? Call your goddamn representative, call your goddamn senator right now, tell them to get on these people, tell them to get them before Congress yesterday and start questioning the hell out of them. Why are they not? This is so obvious. Why is this not happening? It doesn't make any sense to me. Does it make sense to you? Does it make sense to you that Ghislaine Maxwell is receiving all of this special treatment? Because it doesn't to me. It just doesn't. She's receiving special treatment. These women are now living the high life. And that's where I'm going to leave it before I have a goddamn brain aneurysm. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next video.